This was it. This was the end. It was just as I had imagined. Alone on the beach, just me and the cool sea breeze blowing through my hair. A bottle of pills clutched in one hand, a bottle of cheap, liquor store vodka in the other. I was done. I was almost free now. It was nearly midnight. Call me a coward if you want, but I was finished running in circles with my shit life. I was tired of getting back up. I just wanted to stay down, forever. I sighed, wandering deeper into the water. It was up to my waist now. I took a swig of the alcohol, grimacing as the vodka burned my throat. It tasted like old nail polish. I hated it. I deserved it. I emptied the contents of the pill bottle into my mouth, then washed it down with long, excruciating sips of vodka. I sat down, letting the water wash over me, feeling the salty sting as the waves hit me. It would be high tide soon. The ocean would take me, and this whole nightmare would end. I felt that pleasant, buzzing, numbness in my brain already. The pills were kicking in. This was it. And then I heard it. I heard the sands shifting behind me, as though a strong wind was blowing it. But there was no wind. Only a slight sea breeze. Curiously, I turned around, not really giving a shit. I couldn't process what I was seeing. The sand was forming into a shape. A physical shape. The sound of rushing sand intensified, becoming a loud and tangible hiss. I couldn't really see what the shape was, as my vision was beginning to blur. And then suddenly, it wasn't. Everything came into focus. My head cleared. The burning of the alcohol in my throat and stomach vanished. And I could see the sand thing, shifting in the moonlight. It was an eye. It was at least 10 feet tall, just staring at me, made entirely of sand. I realized, with a jolt, that I wasn't even in the water anymore. I was sitting on the shore, bone dry. I was terrified, but for some reason, I couldn't move. What are you? I wasn't sure why I asked. It was just an eye. It couldn't speak, could it? The sand continued swirling around and within it, and the shifting hiss grew louder and clearer, until it formed into words. Nothing. Everything. I am the one who watches. I see all, yet I see nothing. This beach is mine. And I will not see another mortal life taken upon it. I was confused. I mean, anyone would be. But, the thing didn't seem malicious. It just seemed to be watching me. I want to die in peace, I told it. Leave me alone. No. The word was sharp, like the crunching of gravel. Death is not your solution, though it may be an answer. Death solves nothing, and yet it resolves everything. You are Clive Jones. But you are not Clive Jones. I wasn't all that surprised it knew my name, honestly, I was just as confused as I was terrified at this point. What? You wish to die. But you do not wish for death. Yes I do, I replied unevenly, my voice shaking. I have nothing left. You have lost everything, Clive Jones. And yet you possess everything as well, Clive Jones. I don't possess shit, I spat at the eye. Whatever you are, cosmic watcher or whatever, you don't know anything about me. Perhaps, came its reply. But perhaps I know everything. I know your father expects this of you. You believe he is right. But your mother would want more for you, yes? Or do you think she died hoping for her only offspring to snuff out his life on an empty beach? My mother. Tears sprang to my eyes at the mention of her, and I couldn't help but begin sobbing. She was the only one who'd believed in me. My father always told me I wouldn't amount to shit, and I believed him. But my mom never did. She always encouraged me. She spent a fortune to send me to college, against my father's advice. You'll do great things, she told me. I wanted a fresh start there, at college. But my parents called every day. I felt like a child, trapped in my room. So I started ignoring the calls. I was sick of it. My mom was always overprotective and I hated that. My dad didn't seem to care one way or the other. I think he was disappointed at me from the start, I don't know why. I stopped asking long ago. Then one night, while I was out drinking, I got 15 missed calls. From my dad. He never called, it was always my mom. That was weird. But I didn't want to talk to him, so I turned my phone off and continued drinking with my friends. I got home that night and listened to the voicemails. I remember the feeling of horror, the guilt, bubbling up in my gut. I called an Uber, and drunkenly stumbled into the hospital, reeking of alcohol, screaming to see my mother. But it was too late. She was gone, they said. My father was there, his face a mask of disappointment and disgust. He handed me a check for the rest of my tuition money, saying my mother wanted me to have it. Then, he left, telling me that he never wanted to see or hear from me again. I left the hospital, throwing up all over the sidewalk outside. I didn't blame my dad, I hated myself too. My grades plummeted. A semester later, the school kicked me out. I was a dropout. A failure. I was nothing. I still had 4 semesters of tuition money. I could have turned my life around, maybe, but I didn't. I spent it on booze, on drugs, on women. I knew even then, I think, that I was going to die. That when the money ran out, my time would too. I had no plans. This was it. The money was gone now. I was ready to end it. There was nothing left, and I told the eye as much. If my mother could see me now, I think she would know there's nothing else I can do. False. You know that is not true, even if you believe it to be. Your mother did not give up. She would not let you do so either. This is an insult to her memory. The eye's voice was so cold, so monotone, and yet I knew it was judging me, somehow. I can offer you a second chance, Clive Jones. What? How? How is the wrong question to ask, Clive Jones? I wasn't really sure how to reply. I was numb, and I was cold, and I just wanted everything to stop. The correct question, the sand I was whispering, is why. I looked at it questioningly, saying nothing. Redemption, Clive Jones. I am offering you redemption. I don't deserve redemption, I replied. I'm tired of failing and I'm tired of losing. I have nothing left to lose but my life, and I've accepted that. I'm ready to die. Just let me die. I was practically begging the eye now, begging it to let me kill myself. But it didn't. It simply stared at me, silent now except for the slight hissing of shifting sand, no longer forming words. After several agonizing moments of this near silence, the eye finally spoke again. Very well, it hissed. If death is your wish, I shall deliver it to you. And then, before I knew it, the sand around me began shifting, rippling, it was moving over me, covering my body like some kind of sentient liquid. Without realizing it, I found myself trying to move, to no avail. The sand was covering my arms and torso now, creeping up my neck. I screamed. This wasn't how I wanted to go. I kicked and struggled at the sand, screaming, but the eye was no longer speaking to me. It simply hovered, watching silently. Wait! I screamed. I don't want to die. Before I could finish, the sand crawled into my mouth, down my throat. I felt it in my nose as well, and as I found myself trying to draw breath, I realized that I couldn't. All I could feel was the sand. I had long since shut my eyes, but I could feel it on my eyelids, as though it were eating at me. It's ironic, isn't it, that, after everything, all I wanted in that moment was one more breath of air. One more look at the night sky. I didn't want it all to end, I realized. And so I fought. But it was too late, I had already made my decision. I refused to accept it. After all my planning, all my intentions of suicide, I found myself screaming internally that I couldn't die yet. That I was too young. I felt the sand filling my stomach, felt my whole body starting to shut down as I gasped for air, inhaling only sand into my lungs. I felt the darkness coming, felt my consciousness fading. I've heard that your brain is supposed to make you feel comforted or peaceful as you die, but I didn't. All I felt was a horrible, burning urge to live. The exact opposite of what had brought me here. And then, as quickly as it had begun, it stopped. The sand began slithering away, out of my body. I felt it leaving my lungs, my throat, my mouth, my ears. I felt the sand slide off of my legs, and in a matter of seconds, I found myself on my hands and knees on the sandy beach, gasping in lungful after lungful of crisp, cold air. After what felt like forever, but could only have been a minute or so, I rolled over onto my back. The eye was still there, staring at me. I looked at it questioningly. What? You fought, the eye spoke in its hissing, sandy whisper before I could finish my question. You did not fight like a man wishing for death. You fought like a man afraid to die. If you wish to die, truly, I cannot stop you. But if you do not, if even a part of you wishes to be redeemed, to be forgiven, accept this. Suddenly, I noticed there was a glass cube next to me, filled with sand. This? I reached towards it. What is it? Redemption. And with that, the eye was gone, the sand that had made it up falling to the ground lifelessly. I was alone again. Alone with the stars and the cool sea breeze. And, for some reason, this little sand cube. I considered going home, before I realized I didn't really even have a home to go to anymore. So, with nothing to my name but the clothes on my back and a cube of sand, I fell asleep there on the beach. When I awoke, I was in a bed. A bed, in a dorm. A college dorm. My old college dorm. I woke up, disoriented, then noticed the cube of sand on my pillow. Redemption, the eye had said. A second chance. Quickly, I scrambled to grab my phone, checking the date. It was the day after my mother had died. I called my mom's phone, not sure why I was doing it. Maybe some part of me was hoping, praying, that I really had a second chance, that she wasn't gone. My mom picked up on the third ring, and I nearly found myself sobbing with relief. I don't know what I met on the beach that day. I returned to it again, trying to thank the being for what it had given me, but I never saw the eye again. Still, though, I always keep that glass cube on my desk, serving as a reminder that I should never give up hope. Sometimes, when I'm alone, I swear I can see something. In my peripheral vision, the sand inside the cube seems to form almost into an eye.